innervation of the kidney. I have covered the anatomy and the basic internal structures of the kidney, but I have left the nervous innervation because it's a bit complex. So I've decided to cover it in a separate video. So let's get into it. First of all, there are some terms, like four terms, the students get a bit confused when it comes to the nervous system. So there are two types of systems: the peripheral nervous system outside the brain and spinal cord, and the brain and spinal cord itself are called as the central nervous system. So if there is a neuronal cell bodies collection in the peripheral nervous system, it is called as a ganglion. Ganglion are the group of neuronal cell bodies in PNS. Okay, ganglion like dorsal root ganglion, and there are a bunch of ganglions like celiac ganglion, ciliary ganglion. There are many of them. Just remember peripheral nervous system. But if there is the collection of cell bodies of neurons in central nervous system, it is called as the nucleus. We will not call it as a ganglion. Like nucleus of cranial nerves 6, 7, vestigial nucleus, cuneatus nucleus. Like these nucleus are the group of cell bodies in the CNS. Okay. And if there is a bundle of axons in the central nervous system, we call it as a tract, like ascending tracts, descending tracts. The descending tracts which are motor, and ascending which are sensory tracts, I will cover it in a separate videos. Okay, and if there is a bundle of axons in the peripheral nervous system, we call it as a nerve, like cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. Okay, let's talk about the nervous innervation of the kidney. First of all, the kidney consists of both afferent. Afferent means the sensory innervations, like sensory output, which is going towards the central nervous system, and the efferent, which is going away from the central nervous system. The kidney have both of them. Like the major innervation of the kidney is sympathetic. I need you guys to understand it. The parasympathetic has a little influence when it comes to the kidney, but it has some amount of parasympathetic like vagus nerve, but sympathetic innervation is very, very important in the kidney. It comes from thoracolumbar outflow. Thoracolumbar outflow is mainly sympathetic, from T12, sorry, it is T12 to L2, okay? T12 to L2 when it comes to the sympathetic innervation. I will make it clear, just wait. First of all, the renal regulation. The renal regulation can be intrinsic, like autoregulation, like it filters the waste products and maintains the acid-base balance and osmotic conditions of the body. This is the intrinsic regulation of the kidney. Extrinsic regulation, it is controlled by extrinsic factors like hormones, ADH, antidiuretic hormone, parathyroid hormone, aldosterone. These are like extrinsic regulations of the kidney, renal plexus, which is a innervation, and fibers. Okay, the renal plexus, the fibers of the renal plexus follow the renal vasculature. It is important thing. The kidneys are innervated by the nerves, but how the nerves follow the path? The nerves follow the path of the arteries. Okay, the renal artery, then it comes segmental arteries, then interlobar arteries, then arcuate arteries, then interlobular arteries. Okay, they come then the afferent arteriole and the glomerulus. They goes up to the afferent arterioles and efferent arterioles and act there. Okay, they follow the arterial pathway of the kidney. What is the response? What is the response of the sympathetic innervation? First is the vasoconstriction. It is a typical response for the sympathetic nervous system. It is the constriction of the smooth muscles, as I have told, that afferent and efferent arterioles. Of the afferent and efferent arterioles, just imagine if it is an artery, the vasospasm or vasoconstriction of the smooth muscles occur. The blood flow will be reduced automatically, and it decreases the glomerular filtration rate. Okay. it decreases the glomerular filtration rate because we don't need the blood in the kidney, like because it is a sympathetic response, so the blood will automatically flow to the vital organs like heart and muscles. Like for example, if there is a big dog running after you and you don't need the blood to go towards the kidney or digestion or something like that, we need to like have something that increases the blood supply to the heart, mainly because it's a pump. We don't need the blood to be waste in the kidneys, so it is the reduction of the blood flow to the glomerulus. Okay, and the second response is the juxtaglomerular apparatus activation. The juxtaglomerular apparatus is located in the macula densa, and it is formed by the distal convoluted tubules, and it is close to the glomerulus mainly. Okay, and it is the main function of the juxtaglomerular apparatus is the renin secretion. Renin is a hormone, and it is a very important hormone in the regulation of the blood pressure, and it increases the blood pressure. The main function of the renin is to increase the blood pressure via RAS system. It is the renin aldosterone system. Okay, renin angiotensin aldosterone system. I will make a separate video on the RAS, but it is a physiological process in which renin is produced by the kidneys, and it leads to the increase in the blood pressure. The second effect. The third effect, in the proximal tubular cells, about 90% of the reabsorption occur. So in the proximal tubular cells, sodium reabsorption occurs via the sympathetic response. So it leads to the retention of water, and automatically when there is retention of water, the volume of the blood increases, and it leads to high blood pressure, hypertension. Okay, because it is a sympathetic response. Okay, let's talk about the innervation. First of all, the okay, I will make it side by side. The sympathetic chain. What is sympathetic chain? Or it is also known as the sympathetic trunk. It is also known as gangliated cord. What is it? It is a collection of paravertebral ganglia, arises from each side of the vertebral column, from base of skull to the coccyx. Okay, uh, for example, this is the vertebral column. This is a vertebral column. Okay, I don't know why it's curved, but okay, let's be straight. It is a vertebral column. These are the like collection of paravertebral ganglia. Paravertebral, the word the paravertebral is very important because there are bunch of prevertebral ganglia. Prevertebral ganglia, these are not located on the side of the vertebral column, but these are located on the front of the vertebral column. Okay, like these which I am drawing is a sympathetic chain. This is a collection of the paravertebral ganglia located on either side of the vertebral column, from the base of skull to the coccyx. Okay, the sympathetic innervation comes from thoracolumbar outflow from T10 to L2. Okay, from T10 to L2, mainly the sympathetic innervation of the kidney comes. And what the innervation contains? Of course, the nerves. Which nerves? From the thoracic part, it contains the thoracic splanchnic nerve, and it contains three of them: greater, the lesser, and the least splanchnic nerves of the thorax. Okay, thoracolumbar. When it comes to the lumbar, there are also lumbar splanchnic nerves, but only first and second of them. Okay, so what these nerves make? Imagine that from the thoracolumbar outflow, okay, from T10 to L2, there comes the nerves. They make the preganglionic sympathetic fibers. Okay, preganglionic, because their ganglion is not the paravertebral, but it is the celiac ganglion. Okay, celiac ganglion is located somewhat here, not here. Okay, this one is the diagram. I hope it will make sense to you. This is a celiac ganglion. Okay, Celiac ganglion is present away from the vertebral column, not close to it. So from the sympathetic chain comes the sympathetic preganglionic neurons. Preganglionic means that it is located before the celiac ganglion, and from the celiac ganglion arises the postganglionic fibers. The postganglionic sympathetic neurons from the celiac ganglion, and they go towards the kidney. Okay, the same thing is written here, that preganglionic sympathetic fibers enters the sympathetic chain without synapsing, because there are bunch of fibers that do synapse in the sympathetic chain, but the thoracolumbar outflow nerves going to the kidney don't synapse in the sympathetic chain, and they directly goes to the celiac ganglion as the preganglionic sympathetic fibers. Okay, a celiac ganglion is an autonomic ganglion. It is not under the voluntary control. Of course, it is a ganglion, and it have both sympathetic and parasympathetic supply to many abdominal organs, including the kidney. Not solely the kidney, but other abdominal organs like viscera and intestines and stomach. Okay, uh, they have supply via the celiac ganglion. And from the celiac ganglion arises the postganglionic fibers, which innervates the structure of the kidney. I will tell you the exact location of the celiac ganglion. This is the abdominal aorta, and it comes from the descending thoracic aorta. From the abdominal aorta arises the celiac trunk. Okay, this is celiac trunk, and the celiac trunk, and in close proximity to the celiac trunk is the celiac ganglion. Okay, let's focus on this diagram. From the sympathetic trunk, from the vertebral column arises the sympathetic preganglionic neurons. They relay in the celiac ganglion, and they arises as postganglionic sympathetic fibers, and they innervate the kidney via the sympathetic innervation. This one is the efferent pathways. Okay, this is efferent pathways, not the afferent, because afferent will goes towards the central nervous system. It is coming from the central nervous system, so this one is the efferent. Okay, the parasympathetic innervation. I have told you that the parasympathetic innervation has little influence when it comes to the kidney, but it do have some innervations, like the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is very, very important for the parasympathetic supply of various organs, like whole of the body mainly. And also the intermesenteric plexus. The intermesenteric plexus is also responsible for the parasympathetic innervation of the kidney, and it is present on the abdominal aorta from sacral vertebra 2 to sacral vertebra 4. It also innervates the kidney. Okay, we have talked about the efferent like pathways. This one is the efferent. Okay, then comes the afferent. What conditions do you think that afferent contains? Like, of course, pain. It is sensory, and the afferent nerves carry some amount of sensations from the kidney. For example, if there are stones in the pelvic area, and if the pelvic is going to distend because of the stones, it can cause irritation, and they excite the nerves which are afferent, and they will go towards the central nervous system, like from information from the chemoreceptors, which responds to the changes in the interstitial fluid environment, and mechanoreceptors, which detect the pressure changes. They goes towards the central nervous system, so it is a pain pathway. Okay, like this one. From the mechanoreceptors, from the chemoreceptors, renal sensory nerve, and it go towards the central nervous system. Okay, other like ganglion, not only the celiac ganglion, there are two other major ganglion: aortic renal ganglion and abdominal aortic plexus. They also have some influence when innervating the kidney. Aortic renal ganglion is composed of superior mesenteric, renal, and inferior mesenteric ganglion. This is superior mesenteric ganglion, and somewhat here will be the inferior mesenteric ganglion, here, somewhat here. Okay, and this is distinct from the celiac ganglion, the renal plexus but the renal plexus is formed from different fibers from different of the ganglions, but celiac is the important one. Okay, then comes the abdominal aortic plexus. Abdominal aortic plexus is located on the sides and front of the aorta. Okay, it has also influence on innervation to the kidney. So I think that's all for today. I hope you understand the nervous innervation of the kidney. Just remember three main functions: vasoconstriction, and it reduces the GFR, glomerular filtration rate, and it decreases the urine output, of course. Okay, urine will be less produced throughout the day if there is sympathetic response. The renin production, it increases the BP, and ECT, sodium reabsorption, retention of water, and automatically hypertension. Okay, that's all for today, and I will see you next time in the next video. Till then, goodbye.